Today's video going to be looking at how to overcome nice guy syndrome specifically in a long-term relationship. So if you're a husband or boyfriend who's been with someone for a couple of years or more and the nice guy syndrome is starting to wreck things, this video is for you. My first ever relationship, I was in my late teens and it went to my 20s. And I didn't really know that I had a thing until I got into a relationship, right? My nice guy syndrome was kind of dormant. I mean, I was a people pleaser and I made people laugh all the time and tried to make people like me, but it never really blossomed until I got into a long-term relationship. And I didn't know any better. In fact, I thought everything I was doing was absolutely spot on. I was being promoted as the best boyfriend that anyone we knew ever had, kind of thing. And it wasn't until about 2.5 years in, when it abruptly ended, that I came to realize like maybe I'd been doing it wrong the whole time and now I'm paying for it. So a lot of you will be having a similar experience if you're in a long-term relationship. It seems like everything was going well for a set period of time, and either you still think it's going well and you're badly deluded, it's about to come crashing down, or you're already seeing a sort of deterioration and you can't explain it except you suspect it might be you, it might be the nice guy thing. So we'll start by having a look at some of the common problems that nice guys have in long-term relationships that you might be able to relate to. Now keep in mind I would need like an entire Wikipedia to go through all the problems that nice guys have in relationships, so I'll just try and cover some of the common ones that come up for my clients most often. Bear in mind, not all of these will apply to you. Nice guys are a range, we're varied, we're different, we're unique. So if there's something here that doesn't apply to you, just skip it and move to the next thing. Starting out fake. This is kind of common for everyone, but nice guys in particular put on a show that's really inauthentic in the dating period, in the first 3 to 6 months of the relationship. They try to be as impressive as possible. They try to be as cool and unaffected as possible, as funny as possible, whatever it is. They try to be really, really pleasing and really, really desirable, I guess, until they kind of lock the woman in. And this is kind of doomed because either the guy has to keep up the act, which is too exhausting and it falls apart eventually, or he does keep up the act because he's strong, but she starts to feel that there's something kind of superficial and one-sided or one-dimensional about it. Or he finally locks her in and goes, "Whew, I don't have to do this shit anymore," and suddenly turns into this other, much lazier guy that she finds quite shocking and quite disappointing, and yet now she feels invested and she's kind of stuck. The problem with this is you give them an image of a person you could be, even though you're not really that person, and they cling to that, and they'll keep comparing you to that and wishing you were that, and they might stay with you for too long, hoping that you'll get back to that, and they never really realize that that guy doesn't exist. He is a performance. You also miss out on the idea that she might have liked you just as you are, if you just calm the fuck down and being whatever it is that you are, though you might not even know what that is at this point. She might have been just fine with that, and then there would be no crash and no disappointment because you would have been the same from start to finish. Next problem is continuing to be dishonest. Now, one of the few things that all nice guys have in common is that they're quite dishonest, even though they very rarely admit it to themselves or to others. So this is mostly about hiding certain thoughts and feelings that you think might be threatening to the relationship. You know, disagreement, disgust, all the disses, disappointment, dislike, disapproval. Nice guys tend to hide this stuff or talk themselves into believing that it doesn't exist, or whatever it is they do, it's all a form of lying. And this, of course, creates a disconnect because they can't connect with you if you are hidden. So they connect with something else, the straw man that doesn't exist. They have a relationship with that straw man. And then, of course, once the straw man goes away, they're like, who the fuck's this guy? Giving up and getting lazy. I kind of mentioned this already, I guess, but it's the part where the nice guy finally locks in the partner and gives up trying. Or he's locked her in and then somebody else becomes the center of attention for pleasing, like a new boss, perhaps, or a new group of friends at the rugby club. And so now all his effort goes into pleasing those people, and his loved one, his primary partner, gets just whatever's left over at the end of the day. I've made a piece before about how people pleasers hurt the ones they love the most. If you're the loved one of a nice guy, you'll often feel like you get the worst of him and everybody else gets the best. You'll feel quite disappointed when you see him with his friends or even with complete strangers, how nice and energetic he is with those people compared to how he is with you when no one's watching. And this is pretty common for nice guys. It's also, you set yourself up to fail at the start. Nice guys are quite often the man that she wanted. They're spontaneous, they initiate sex, they're leaders, they're putting a lot of effort and affection, they're brave, and all of that just sort of fades away as the relationship continues, and you're just left with this kind of passive / feminine guy, and all that cool masculine stuff's gone without realizing. Of course, he only did that when he didn't care about whether or not it was going to work out between you two, or he didn't have like much hope of it being locked in, and then once it was locked in, he panicked and cut back on anything risky. Or he's simply exhausted because it was an act to begin with and he can't keep it up, and now you're locked in, he needs a rest. Trying to control everything through manipulation, which is again really common to all nice guys. That's what nice guy syndrome is all about. It's about control. Specifically, it's about making sure that people don't cause the nice guy to feel a certain uncomfortable way, which normally means controlling the way they feel so that their negative feelings don't get passed on to the nice guy. It ends up with him being sort of very upset and sulky when things don't go his way. Even a change that's for the positive can be upsetting if it's not part of his plan. It leaves the partner feeling anxious and insecure about whether or not the nice guy is really interested and engaged in something, because he's never really bothered in a direct way, so you can't tell if he's really in or out on anything. And of course, eventually the partner just ends up loathing being manipulated. Nice guys will fail to admit it to themselves, but they actually have quite a few narcissistic traits. A lot of the Machiavellian manipulative stuff. Girls in general want a guy who's just direct and goes for it and has some fucking balls. So when the guy's constantly playing tricks and mind games and sneaking around and indirect, it gets really tiresome and it's really unattractive. Avoiding conflict. Another common one for nice guys. They just try to prevent or fix any potential confrontation. So they don't want tense emotions to occur. They don't want difficult, rough times to occur. So they're always trying to put the fire out as quickly as possible, relieve the tension with humor or helpfulness, and of course prevent things going wrong by creating a codependency, doing everything for you so that no problems even make it to you down the conveyor belt of life. And of course this removes all emotional dynamic range in the relationship. Makes you feel like a dependent child with the nice guy, like he's the one controlling and fixing everything, and it just kills really any sort of sexual or romantic feelings. Of course, the lack of boundaries and the failure to express things that bother him build up resentment, which eventually leads to contempt, which is a death sentence for the relationship. They stop initiating sex. This one doesn't apply to all nice guys, but most nice guys have sexual shame. They have a lot of difficulties in the bedroom, from erectile dysfunction through to just taking things very, very seriously, through to not being able to perform very well physically. Nice guys generally see the bed as this quite threatening place. Again, they wouldn't admit it, but for them it's a very stressful, chore-like process to have sex, because this is where they have to be the most pleasing. This is where they really have to perform. And so they're going to stop initiating eventually, because why would they want to start that process that they find so unenjoyable, so high pressure? And of course, in general, nice guys are quite passive. They have green light syndrome. They don't want to do anything that might upset someone, so they make you do, as the partner, they make you do all the leadership and initiating. You take all the risks so that they can't get rejected. Stonewalling and emotional dysregulation. So nice guys universally struggle to deal with negative emotions. All right, they want everything to be smooth and pleasant and comfortable. And when things don't get like that, you get withdrawal and or explosions. So if you start trying to have like an emotional conflict with the nice guy, you'll just see this kind of wall come up where he won't engage, or he'll hold it in, and have what we call a puke and really overreact to something minor. The woman ends up feeling like she's with a robot or she's with a psycho, and both of those aren't good for a long-term relationship. Covert contracts is another common one for nice guys. We like to expect things from you and hold you to account for not meeting those needs, but without ever talking about it directly, right? We think you should just know, okay? And we also feel entitled to rewards for all this nice stuff that we're doing. Again, we don't ask for those rewards. We expect you to just deliver them. We get upset with you and we sulk and punish you in various indirect ways, which of course builds up resentment and kills the relationship. Victim perspective and blaming. One of the reasons nice guys are stuck in nice guy syndrome is because they constantly tell themselves, this is not my fault. And when they're with a partner, that's the person that most of the blame will be heaped upon. So as the nice guy suffers, even if he has an inner critic telling him he's the cause of all the problems all the time, he'll also see that the partner is the cause. He'll even blame himself for staying with a partner who bothers him, right? It's just blame, 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 blame all over the place. And you'll just feel that resentment. You'll just feel like it's always your fault when you're with him. You'll feel like you're somehow causing him pain, even though really he's been doing this to himself long before he met you. Treating partners like their mother. Not all nice guys do this, but a certain sort of niche of them do. You know, the wife has to pick up after him, has to make decisions for him, has to stand up for him in conflicts, starts to feel like it's her little boy. And there's pretty much nothing that kills sexual romance more than feeling like you're the parent of your partner, right? Pity is not exactly an aphrodisiac. Self-sacrificing and losing respect. This is one that used to affect me a lot, and it's one I still struggle with and have to work with on a daily basis. Nice guys feel that being a good partner means that you hurt so that other people don't have to, right? You take all the hits. And how this is translated is not as a protector or a provider in a strong masculine way, but more as somebody who just doesn't take care of themselves and bends over backwards to enable and control people by fixing everything and doing everything for them, even when they aren't asked, and especially not when it's the best thing to do. So nice guys will get involved and sacrifice themselves to help others when it's not even needed and it's actually a bad idea. And this just leaves the nice guy exhausted and full of resentment, and it leaves the wife really kind of unable to respect him in any way. I could go on, but you know what really is the worst issue? The refusal to address all of these issues. Most of the time when I end up working with a nice guy who's a partner, it's because his wife or girlfriend has come to me for coaching on how to deal with him. And it gets to the point where she has to actually initiate a breakup to kick him into gear, to give him enough of a crisis to do something about it. Nice guys just really struggle to admit that they are the problem and that they're the ones causing their own suffering, and that they can do something about it, but they're going to have to get uncomfortable and challenge their beliefs and do things that they previously thought were wrong, like being more masculine and assertive, and do things that will actually feel like they're risking the relationship in order to save it. Nice guys are very afraid of doing the things that need to be done to fix this, and so by the time they finally get their shit together, it's usually too late. Too much damage has been done. Why do these problems happen? Nice guys are conditioned and programmed from childhood to have a very warped view of what a good relationship looks like. They think it should be conflict-free. They think people should be happy and comfortable all the time. They think anything to make the person happy, including dishonesty and sacrificing yourself and disrespecting your values, all of that, the means justifies the end. Some nice guys are actually aware that they're making critical mistakes and that this approach really doesn't work, and they've been through relationships before where this absolutely crashed and burned, but they just either don't know how to stop themselves from doing it, or they do know how, but they're too scared to make those moves, so they're kind of doomed to repeat themselves. There's a few damaging beliefs that we are raised with, us nice guys, about women and about relationships, and here are some of the common ones. The idea that women need to be happy all the time to think you're worth staying with in a relationship. So this burden we have to make sure you're always feeling good and to prevent you from feeling bad. And the idea that a guy who does that is a good partner, and a guy who upsets his partner, even if it's from being honest or assertive or taking care of himself, that's a bad guy, right? And so we've got this shame conditioning, like if she's not happy, I'm a bad partner. And obviously you can see what kind of behavior that might lead to. And as any woman, even a woman who thinks that a partner who makes her feel good all the time is a good idea, she will know in the long run that didn't work, did it? Right? That is not how a happy, healthy relationship actually looks. A really healthy relationship, people go through a range of emotions and they take responsibility for that range, but they don't take responsibility for each other's. Another belief is thinking that sex is somehow harmful and shameful. The idea that a guy wanting sex and getting sex is like a burden to the woman, that there's always this like Me Too high risk thing of doing something she doesn't consent to and harming her in some way, or just that you're disappointing in the bedroom physically in terms of your performance. And this is really a big fucking deal to guys. There are guys who have like a less than average penis and they think about it all day. Like, it just drives them crazy. Or, they can't get it up in the bedroom, and for weeks they will just be beating themselves up in their head about it. Like, they take it very, very fucking seriously, and it all comes from this idea that sex is somehow a harmful act. So in order to get what they want with a woman, they have to harm her. And it's a really dissonant kind of belief. Like, how are we supposed to enjoy sex if we think it hurts you? We tend to believe that having our own needs and wants met is selfish. That's somehow a dishonorable thing. That a real good man loses everything. He sacrifices everything that he wants so that others can get what they want, and then he's a good man. That's a belief we're raised with. We're often told that in one way or another that we were selfish as kids for wanting something. We heard the word no a lot. Many of us had very strict parents. So we think we've got to give up what we want so that others can get what they want, which means we have to make other people happy, and it has to hurt us. It can't be we're both happy. It has to hurt us too. And so we obviously end up burning out and being resentful on both sides of the fence here. We've been raised to believe that how other people feel about us is the accurate measure of how much worth we have and how good we are as a person. So we become incredibly needy for approval and validation and love from other people. We will prioritize getting that over things like integrity and honesty and self-respect. And of course, this is a doomed strategy, right? Not only is a man likely to crash and burn with this approach, but he can never get confident if he puts it in the hands of other people. And all those traits like integrity, honesty, and respect are the attractive masculine traits. So he deprives himself of being as attractive to his partner as he could be. And as I mentioned before, he'll also start to neglect his partner and even his children if he finds other people he hasn't pleased yet, and he raises them in the hierarchy because he's already locked in the family. This is, of course, devastating and something he'll often feel quite guilty about. He bends over backwards to please the boss he doesn't even like and doesn't spend any time with his kids. When he stops to think about it, he's not happy about it, but he just feels compelled to keep trying to win people over. Again, the list could go on and on forever, but overall, nice guys try to control other people's behavior and emotions in order to feel safe. And this controlling, dishonest, manipulative behavior poisons their relationships quite slowly over time. It's quite hard for them to point to any one thing and says that's what did the damage, because you bleed to death from 10,000 small cuts. By the way, if this stuff resonates with you, take my quiz that I've got linked down below, and I'll send you some more advanced resources to help you with your specific challenges and goals. Is it too late to repair the damage? I'll be straight with you. For some of you, by the time you're watching this, too much damage has been done. I don't believe that every single relationship can be repaired. There's a certain line where so much trust has been breached or so much respect has been lost that you would have to wipe the person's memory clean to have any chance of rescuing the relationship. Like I've often said before, if you've gotten to the point where your partner has contempt for you, they've got so much resentment and disrespect that they look down on you, that they pity you, or they see you as a burden, or they see you as less than them in value, it's really almost impossible to repair that, at least if it's been going for a while. And if you've constantly broken promises and betrayed their trust and disappointed them and not be the man that you sort of initially promised to be, that's what's going to be locked into their memory. I'm not saying this to try and bum you out, but for some of you, your time will be better spent breaking up and working on yourself and probably finding a new partner in the future than it would be trying to repair this broken thing. However, for some of you at the point of reading this, there's still a chance, right? You still got significant changes to make, and you're going to have to get very uncomfortable and have a lot of conflict to resolve this in your current relationship. But as long as your partner's on board with this, you haven't done too much damage, maybe they're a people pleaser too and they have some understanding and some empathy for this, and if the two of you are willing to both work on it together, like I call it facing in the same direction, because it's 50-50, I'm making it sound like the nice guy does all the damage, but the partner's allowing this at the very least, so they're in trouble too, right? Both of you need to work on this. If you still feel consistent compassion, love, and at least a little bit of respect for each other, then you've both got a good chance. If you're both willing to do the work, you've got a good chance, and then there's hope. I have turned around some absolute train wreck relationships. It can be done, but both partners have to work their asses off together, and they have to be very open and honest from here on out and repair the damage and take responsibility for themselves. So how do you overcome nice guy syndrome in a long-term relationship after all that fucking foreplay? Firstly, I strongly recommend getting coaching with me. It's not just a sales pitch. It's the idea that the likelihood you're going to be able to do this on your own is quite slim, or at least to be able to do it on your own quick enough to repair the damage and not ruin this relationship. I don't know. I haven't seen that happen very often. Like, I've seen a lot of guys try and do this on their own, and it kind of breaks my heart, because if they had worked with me or someone like me, it doesn't even have to be me, just someone who understands nice guy syndrome and knows how to coach people through it in relationships, they might have saved their relationship. But their sort of pig-headed, stubborn, independent thing that nice guys have forced them to take too long, and too much damage was done in the recovery period. The thing is, nice guys, we lack insight. We can't see ourselves from the outside. We're like a fish in a water, and you say, what's water? Like, we've been like this our entire lives, or at least all the way back to our earliest memories. We don't know other ways of being. We have beliefs that are so deep and subconscious we don't even realize they're controlling us. And this is where a coach or a therapist comes in to point things out to you that are actually really obvious if you could just see them. And as soon as you see them, you'll be like, fuck, of course that was never going to work. Why was I doing that for 10 years? But if you can't see it, you'll keep acting this way and not know why you're getting shitty results. So if you want to trial coaching with me, you can have a free trial to see if it works. Email me, dan@brojo.org. However, if you insist on doing it on your own, here are my top tips. No more promises, just action. Don't tell them what you're going to do or how you're going to be in the future. Just be it, or shut the fuck up, right? Just prove it with your behavior. Don't even warn them. Just change the behavior. You can explain the behavior after it's done. You can say, look, I know I was a little harsh on you there compared to how I usually talk, but I'm trying to be more confrontation. I can't promise that this will keep happening, but I'm working on it. That was an example. Just do the thing that you know needs to happen. Lots more honesty. Try to be as open and honest as you possibly can, a little bit more every day, especially your thoughts and feelings, and especially the thoughts and feelings you have about her and about your relationship. That, above everything else, needs to be spoken about honestly, but it needs to be powerful honesty, right? You need to take ownership of it. You need to start with I statements. This is not about her. She isn't doing anything wrong. How you respond to it is where your pain comes from. So always talk about it like that. But let your dark side out, show the negativity, show the resentment, show what bothers you, show what you're afraid of, show what you're embarrassed by. Get it all out. Treat your partner and child as if they're the only people who fucking exist, all right? They should be top of the list, above your family, above your parents and your siblings. They should be above your friends, above your workmates especially, and certainly above some fucking stranger. Those people who aren't your partner and children should get the worst of you, what's left over after you've given it all to yourself and to them. Your family, you, your partner and your kids, they are the center of everything, and you should behave accordingly. Disappoint, upset, let down, ignore other people in order to conserve that energy for the center. Start telling your partner what you want to see her change. Start telling her what you dislike about her behavior. Stop tolerating disrespectful treatment. Even if you did something that isn't worthy of respect, she should still be trying her best to be respectful, and you need to hold her to account for that. All right, show her that you have a spine, show her that you have some balls, show her that you actually give a fuck about yourself and how you're treated. Most importantly, don't just set these boundaries, enforce them. A friend of mine, his girlfriend used to make these like cruel jokes, like banter, but it hurts. And he really doesn't like that. He's got a sensitive spot for that. So he told her don't do it, and she'd do it again. He'd tell her don't do it. She'd do it again and tell her don't do it. Telling isn't enough. You tell her once, and if she does it again, you walk out, right? And you're gone for the night. And you come back here. You want to do it again? Because I'll walk out again. You make sure boundaries are enforced. You don't have to give them a excessive punishment. You don't have to hurt them back. You just withdraw all privileges instantly. They don't get anything good from you until they behave right. Prioritize your self-care. Develop a morning routine where you get your shit sorted before you take care of even your partner and kids. Make sure you start the day with a momentum that puts you and your health first. Make sure that you got your shit together before you help other people with theirs. Let go of control. Boundary setting is not the same as trying to control somebody. Boundaries is about, this is how you treat me. But respect is about, hey, you live your life how you see fit as long as you don't hurt me. All right? So let go. Stop giving your partner unsolicited advice. Stop helping when she hasn't asked. Stop doing this with everybody. Let your kids figure things out on their own before you step in. Stop trying to make people feel better all the time. If they're sad, let them be sad. If they're angry, let them fucking yell it out. You don't have to fix any of this. You can just be the lighthouse in the storm. You're just sitting there waiting patiently for them to be done, rather than you trying to actively bring them down and control their feelings. Just let go. Focus on managing your own shit, not theirs. Stand up for yourself and your family. No matter how small and petty the little boundary might be, your partner needs to see that you will step up and take bullets for the team if needed, and that you will step up to her as well. Always stand up for what is right. Now, this doesn't mean you have to fight every battle, but at the start it kind of does, because you don't even know what you really stand for. You've been so passive. So stand up for everything, and then later when you know you can do that, you can choose what really matters. But make sure you're the one who sends the food back when the restaurant overcooked it. Make sure you're the one that calls for a meeting with the teacher and says, don't talk to my kid like that. Make sure you're the one that says to your boss, no, I'm not working late. Today is my date night with my wife. Sorry. Right? Make sure you're the one that's willing to take hits for the team, but also will stand up to the team themselves. Show your ability to protect yourself and others. Responsibility, bravery, honesty, acceptance, respect. Pushing those values as hard as you can and dialing back on the passivity and the neediness and the manipulation. Just trying to be upfront, transparent, bold, but also accepting and letting go of control. That is what's going to free you from this thing. Of course, you can make massive progress, just a few months, if you engage in my help. Okay, you can have me in your corner and I can take you through this in a way that greatly accelerates your progress and make sure that you don't do more damage along the way as you try to recover. I can also help you bring your partner in on this and make sure that she doesn't resist the changes and that she embraces them with you. So if you want that help, get in touch, dan@brojo.org. We'll start there with a conversation and a free session just to try it out. Thank you so much for watching the video. I'll see you all next time.